Claude Code has let me start to build systems within minutes instead of days, which is what it was taking before. So today I'm going to be teaching you how to actually use some of these skills that we need for Claude Code to build some of these super powerful agents. Now we've got a bit of an agenda to run through this video. So the first step of what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to actually interact with Claude Code. And we're going to do this through something called an IDE. Now, don't worry if you've never used an IDE before. It's really simple to use and really simple to set up. But the IDE we're going to be using in this video is VS Code. So I'm going to show you how to install that and how to get Claude Code interacting with that. Then we're going to be running through the framework, and we're going to be using something called a what framework. And I'm going to go into all the details about that, but this is going to allow our agent to build a really crucial file structure and also allow it to perform to its best capabilities. And then finally, we're going to get to actually building our agent. And in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to build a lead generation agent, which you can use to scrape unlimited potential leads in your local area or around your country or wherever the case may be. So let's get into the first step. So the first step we're going to be doing is we're going to be downloading VS Code. So VS Code is where we're going to be interacting with our Claude Code agent. And we're going to be setting up all of our file structures through VS Code. Now you can do this through the Claude desktop app as well, but it's preferable to do it through VS Code. So you want to search up VS Code here, literally click on the first link and then download it for whatever operating system you're using. So I'm on Windows, so you download this, literally just hit this button here, wait for it to download and then open it up. Now on top of VS Code, what you also need to make sure is that you have an Anthropic account and you are actually on a paid plan. Otherwise you won't be able to do this on the free plan, so you're going to need to sign up at least for the pro plan. Okay, perfect. Now once you have loaded up your VS Code and it's installed successfully, the first thing we want to do is we want to go to our extensions tab here and you want to install Claude Code. So I've already actually done this, so I don't need to do it again, but you want to come onto here and then hit install, and then you're going to be able to access Claude Code within your VS Code. Now, like I said before, make sure that you're on a paid subscription plan, otherwise you're not going to be able to install this and use Claude Code properly for this tutorial. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to be working with in a folder that we're going to be building all of the work our agent is going to use in this. So we need to open up a folder here. I haven't created one, so I'm just going to create one where we're going to be doing all of this work, and then I'm going to open it in our VS Code. So as you can see here, I'm about to create a folder called Lead Gen Agent, and that's what we're going to be building all of our workflows in, and we're going to be using that what structure that I mentioned earlier, but I'm going to go into more detail in a second about how we actually use this. Perfect. So once you've created that folder, you want to go to the open folder section here and then open it up in VS Code. Okay, great. So we've got that open. Now the first thing what we want to do is we want to put in a claude.md file, so our markdown file. And what this is going to do is basically going to tell our agent every time that it opens up into this file structure what this workflow does, what the tools are, and how the agent should interact with it. So I'm going to paste it in here. I've just copied it. It's going to be available in my free school community. So go overhead there to get access to that. But essentially what this is our what structure that I was mentioning. So as you can see, when I've opened up this claude.md file, we've got agent instructions here. So telling it what the what framework is and what the architecture is. And then basically going into explaining that in each of these parts. So we've got layer 1, which is the workflows, layer 2, which is the agent, which is actually Claude Code, and layer 3, which is the tools, so the things that it needs to help it execute on these workflows. And then we've got a few different details in here, things like how to operate, what to do when things fail, the self-improvement loop, the file structure, and this can be really important in a second. I'm going to show you what we need to do with this, and also the bottom line of why we have this file. So before we actually getting into initializing our file structure using that markdown file, I'm going to quickly explain what the what framework is. Now essentially we have our agent, we have our workflows, and we have our tools. Now what our workflows are the step-by-step processes that need to be completed for a task to get done. So for example, in our workflows, these are going to be step-by-step processes that someone or an agent would follow to complete a task. But to actually do these tasks in these workflows, what we need are tools to execute this. So for example, in our lead generation example, we might be using Apify, which is a tool to go and actually scrape the data. And that might be one of the steps in our workflow. Now what the agent does is it acts as the middle layer between both of these parts. The workflows are the procedure that needs to get done, and the tools are what is going to help the agent actually do that. So that's what our what structure is, and that is how our agent is going to interact with our file structure. Okay, so going back over into VS Code, we're going to launch a Claude Code terminal here, and I'm going to close this down quickly, and I'm basically going to tell Claude Code to initiate this folder with the file structure as determined in that markdown file. Okay, so I want you to go through the claude.md file before I describe in detail how I want this agent to work. I basically just want to read through that, look at the context, understand it, and set up the file structure that we need to initiate this project. Okay, so I've put that in, and now I'm going to go ahead and send this off. So hopefully it's going to get everything initialized and ready, and then we can start going into detail about how we want this lead generation agent to work. Okay, perfect. So you can see that it set up all the file structures that we need. We've got a temporary folder, we've got a tools folder, workflows, and all of these are empty at the moment, but I'm going to start describing what I want, and then a lot of these are going to start getting populated. And we've also got a .env file here, which is essentially going to hold a lot of our API keys and all of our credentials. So now what we want to go into is describing what we actually want. But before we do that, we want to change this to plan mode. So plan mode is essentially going to allow us to, or it's going to allow Claude Code to create a really good plan to execute how it creates this agent, and it's going to produce a lot better results than if you just did it without plan mode. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and describe roughly what I want. I'm still going to leave it a little bit vague and get it to ask me any questions it needs to. So yeah, basically what I want to do is that I run an AI agency called Innovio, where I help other businesses utilize AI, set up AI solutions in their company to automate manual processes, save time, increase revenue, things like that. So basically what I want this agent to do is find me local businesses in a certain area where I can target these businesses. So find them on using a Google Maps scraper through Appify, preferably. And then I want you to find any contact details, email preferably, for these businesses that you can, so I can then outreach to them. Then once you've got all this data, put it into a Google Sheets for me. Ask me any questions that you need to. Okay, so I've given it quite a vague rundown, but I'm going to send this off to Claude Code, and it's going to ask me any questions that it needs to. So in my case, it's asked me if I have an API key for Appify, which I do. If not, they're really simple to set up. I'm going to click on yes, ready to go. Email source, we can say scrape from their website. So for Google Sheets, I'm going to say that no, I need help setting it up. And then for the final one, for data fields, I'm going to say that I want the business name, address, and also their contact email. So those are my answers. I'm going to submit that, see what Claude comes back with. Okay, great. So you can see it's created a plan. We've got context. We've got what the architecture looks like. So it's got 3 different tools here, supporting files, and a step-by-step implementation. So I'm going to go ahead and accept this. So you can see it's got a to-do list, and now it's going to start working through this to-do list. And I'm going to change this to bypass permissions here. So this is essentially going to mean that Claude Code doesn't have to ask me every time to approve something when it needs to do an action. To turn on bypass permissions, you just go to settings here, then go on here, and then you want to search for Claude Code. And then you can see when we go on to extensions, you can literally just turn on bypass permissions there. Okay, so it's asking for my API key here, and then to set up our Google credentials. So we're going to do the first thing, which is get our API key. So I'm just going to head on over to appify.com and grab this quickly. Okay, so going over to the Appify store here, to get your API key, literally just scroll down to settings, and then go to APIs and integrations, and you can grab it from here. Now, for the second part, I'm not going to run through each of these steps. They're quite simple to do, and you can ask Claude Code for a step-by-step process of how to do this, which I've done. I'm going to go ahead and give it the information it wants, which is this credentials.json file, and then we can move on to the next step in our process. The reason I'm not going to walk through this step-by-step is because the point of this video is to kind of show how this is a bit of an iterative process with Claude Code, and the actual manual setup that you do is just things like getting API keys from the different platforms that you're working with. Then once you've done those 2 steps, what you want to do is you want to give your Appify API key, which I've pasted in the chat here, and you want to put in that credentials file, which it asked for, which was step 2. And then you can actually ask it to initialize the project. So it says to install these dependencies, but you can say, Claude, I want you to run these dependencies and install everything for me. And then once you've got that, you'll get to the stage where we can actually use some tests on it. So you can see I'm at the point now where we've got our test set up and everything's ready. So I'm basically going to ask it to test and find businesses in my local area. Yeah, so I want you to help me find some local businesses in the London area. So think things like dentists, plumbers, barbershops, that type of stuff. Cool, I'm going to send this off to Claude Code, and let's see if it works first time or if it comes back with any errors. Okay, so it seems that it's just kind of set up for one business type here, which is fine because we left this as a pretty vague prompt when we started. So I'm just going to start this with dentists. And then I'm going on to volume, and let's start with a quick test run, so we can just do 25 per category. Okay, perfect. So we can see that it's found the first 25 businesses that it scraped. Now it's going to go ahead and it's finding the emails from the business's websites. And this is a really good example here. So you can see that it's actually run into a problem and it's fixing it itself. So it's found emails for businesses, but it can see that it's found addresses from London, London, Ohio, New York. So it's found it from not London, UK, and it's actually identified this problem itself, and it's going ahead and fixing it itself. So this is a really cool part of Claude Code, and saves you a lot of bug fixing that you would be doing manually instead. Amazing. So it looks like it's run through everything, and it should have updated our Google Sheets. Now bear in mind, this is just a proof of concept. We can tweak this as much as we want, but let's go ahead and see what Google Sheets looks like. Okay, brilliant. So it looks like it's created a Google Sheets for us. It's got the name of the dental clinics. It looks like it's got the address. It's got their website, and it also has a contact number here. So if I also expand this out, we can see that we've got a few emails here, and it hasn't been able to find us some others. So I could go back with Claude Code and kind of go back and forth with this, but this is a really quick proof of concept, and it's shown how literally from just speaking to Claude, I've gone and found 9 potential leads I can go and outreach right away. So hopefully you guys have got a really good idea of how literally through just speaking to Claude Code or typing to Claude Code, you can set up these agents and these automations within minutes instead of hours like we were doing before in other platforms like NAN, Make.com, whatever the case may be. So like I said, I've got these templates available in my free school community, so go over there to get access to the claude.md file that I've used in this video. And if you are a business and you want to set up something like this for yourself, please feel free to reach out to the Calendly booking in the description, and we can set up a discovery call. If you did find this video useful, please hit the like and subscribe button so I know to make more videos like this in the future. But that is all for me, and I'll see you in the next video.